welcome to another episode of the Brand X Podcast. I'm John, and I'm Deuceless. What we're doing here is we're having some time with our families over the holiday season, so we're hoping that you had a happy holiday season, and we couldn't leave you hanging. So what we wanted to do is go back and pull some clips of this past year. It was May 4th, 2016, and Deuce and I were just going to crack the mic open and practice a little bit. And we actually ended up having such a good time, and I thought everything worked well. It actually was our first episode. And during the first episode, we talked about Deuce's wedding. And I think Genghis will actually visit the show a lot, because one of the things your father used to do that I do, what I say all the time, is he used to say, yeah, well, who do you think's going to do that? Jackass.
And you got to do the dual thumbs up.
I just did. You can't see me, but I had the two thumbs.
yeah. It's
Jackass.
Jackass is going to do it. Yeah. So, we all do it. You know, it's like I said, you discover what genius your father was after the fact.
All right. So I got a Genghis story. So it's the day of your wedding, and we get to the church. Everybody's, we got to get to the church. I have a backstory to that. I don't even want to get into that right now. But we finally get to the church. It was a horrendous day. Not that your wedding was. It just was a bad day.
The logistics.
It was crazy. So we get to the church. I'm your best man. The girl that I was dating at the time, Sandy, was your maid of honor. So we get to the church. Okay, let's go. So we all get in. We go to the church. We get ready to walk up. Who's got the rings? I don't know. Well, I was the best man. I was supposed to have the rings, but I didn't have the rings. I forgot them. I forgot to ask for them.
Right. And I forgot because it's
just one of those days. So
it was crazy that day.
So then they're like, okay, we'll just give you rings. Here, take my ring. And someone gave a ring for Diane. And Diane's like, I'm not putting that ring on. That's not my wedding ring. So your father's, his shoulders slump, his head goes down. He goes, I'll be right back. So he leaves.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is that the scene of the crime was in Medford Lakes, New Jersey.
Right. And we always call the place where we got married the scene of the crime.
That's where Diane and I got married.
Right.
So
I think that's where I got married too, right? Well, we're not the same church, but the same town.
Right. So we got married there, but my parents' house was quite a distance away.
Right.
It's easily a 40-minute ride. So my father's looking at a 90-minute ride.
There and
leave the church, go there, get the rings, and drive back. And Genghis was not exactly known for breaking the sound barrier when he drove. So I said, if I did it, I could probably do it in half an hour. But
So he drops his shoulders, his head goes down, and goes, I'll be right back.
We refer to that as the puppet.
So he leaves. Now the ceremony's going on. And I have no rings. I have no ring at all.
Yeah, we're all up there.
And I'm like, what's going to happen? What is going to happen when he asks for the ring? And I'm like, they ain't got a ring. What are we going to do, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm waiting. And I'm telling you, it got right to the point of the ring ceremony. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm panicking. And all of a sudden, I hear, I look over, and a hand comes out the side door of the church. Right. And I take a spin, like a 180 spin. I walk over, I take the rings, and I do another 180 spin, and I walk back like it was part of the ceremony.
And you know what? Diane saw that.
Well, your back was...
but I was so focused on like what the minister was saying and the whole thing, thinking about where these rings at, what are we going to do? And I was just as amazed when you had the rings.
So I come, I open up, I give the rings out, and the priest takes the rings. And he goes to do the rings. And then your dad comes out, goes back around, and comes walking into the church to sit in the front row. And as he's walking by, and it's quiet, like you can't hear a pin drop. And he's walking by, and goes, I guess I wasn't supposed to hear my son get married. When we get back into 2017, I'm going to have to tell the story how Deuce almost didn't have a best man and maid of honor at his wedding. That was a story. As we went on in that episode, Deuce also talked about his father, Genghis. Genghis has always been a popular character in real life and on the podcast. And it was about the time that Genghis was in church. And, I can't explain it any better than this.
Well, here's the ultimate Genghis in church story. I don't even think you know this one.
No, probably not.
No, my son was making his communion.
Okay.
So this is quite a long time ago. This is about 15 years ago. However old you are when you make your communion. I don't even know. Maybe he was 8.
It doesn't matter. He was making his communion.
He's making his communion. So Diane and I just happened to get seated in the front row of the section where they sit all the parents. So we're there in the front seat. So my mother and father and my mother-in-law and my grandmother were all sitting somewhere in the church. And as we all know, churches are acoustically perfect vessels, and they carry sound very, very well. Well, they had the bishop for the area, the diocese, I guess, and he was telling the story. And for those of you that aren't Catholic, whenever they do communion, it's always communions and confirmations are always done in the spring, generally in the vicinity of Easter. So the bishop decided to tell the story of the Easter bread. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard the story of the Easter bread, but the story of the Easter bread is the grandmother of the family used to always make the Easter bread. Okay. And one year, the grandson said, "Oh, Grandmom, I just love your Easter bread. Will you show me how to make Easter bread?" And Grandmom said, "Sure, I'll show you how to make the Easter bread." Well, then the following Easter came around, and guess what happened? She died.
Oh, no.
And we're all stunned. This is the bishop telling the story. Right. She died. And we're like dumbfounded. Okay. And somewhere in the silence, I hear my father, "Jesus Christ." So not only did he take the Lord's name in vain, he did it in church.
Did all the heads snap around?
And Diane and I are right in the front row. We know who it is. It's no other but Genghis. It's got to be,
Oh, my God.
And we're sitting there. Now it's like being back in school because now you're doing suppressed laughter.
Right.
And that's the funniest thing on the planet because you don't want to get in trouble. I felt like I was a kid again. Oh. And my mother jabbed him in the ribs so hard. We heard her go, "Ugh." We heard him like grunt, as the air escaped his body, So my mother said some woman right in front of him had to get up and leave because she was laughing.
Oh,
she was like convulsing in laughter.
But that's exactly what he would do. He would do that all the time. He would come up with something like that, and you would bust a gut.
Yeah. How could you not laugh?
Right now, I'll get tears in my eyes as I'm listening to this story. I'm like rubbing my eyes, trying to get the tears out.
Oh, he had a million of them. It was
God bless that.
And then later on, he tried to defend it. He says, "Well, what the hell, Trude? Who the hell was expecting something like that? This is supposed to be a happy occasion. The grandmother died at Easter."
Dating and technology. I'll tell you what, Deuce told a story about a coworker of his who was trying to date someone that he knew in the past, and apparently she had put on a little extra weight since the last time he had talked to her, and she had also moved away. So he went to ask her why she moved so far, but autocorrect grabbed that text and changed it to something else.
Do you want to lighten it up a little?
Sure, let's lighten it up a little.
Okay. This kind of goes back into the Twitter thing. As you know, I'm new to having a smartphone.
Yes.
Yes, I had a flip phone.
And you counted that flip phone like it was
I would love to have a flip phone back because...
No, you would not.
Yes, so because you look like Captain Kirk when you open it up. It's awesome.
That's bullshit. So, you sit there and you listen to podcasts off it now.
I do now.
Yeah, you love it. You just won't admit it.
But it's to say it has not been a learning curve.
Of course, it's a learning curve.
Oh, it's like because I got this finally. I got it in December finally, and the main reason I got it was I needed to address a bunch of emails that I was getting at the time. For
it's always an excuse.
So, well, no, I mean it was.
You knew we were all having fun with smartphones. You saw
right,
what
everyone's
we were
having a lot.
Fun, and I've already made this big giant stand. I pounded my chest. I like flip phones. I will never have a smartphone. I don't need one. I have a flip phone.
Yes.
Right. Go ahead.
It's easier to put in your pocket in the summer because that's an issue I'm coming up with now.
I hurt my chest.
Put this goddamn thing. So, but anyway, I got an Apple phone. iPhone. It's something I was familiar with from when I worked at my last job.
I got the Apple phone.
I got the Apple. So, and I've been struggling with my new arch nemesis, which is autocorrect. Okay. Autocorrect drives me crazy.
I agree with you.
It's just, you're just plowing. I know how to spell. I was a spelling bee championship, damn it. So I know how to spell. I don't have a problem with that. So I'm just plowing through there, and the phone thinks I mean something else. Everyone's had this issue, obviously.
Sure.
And that's, and then you send it, and you have something completely different what you thought you had. So anyway, that having been said, This comes from a guy I work with. A good friend of mine has the most epic autocorrect story I have ever heard.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. This is great.
Go ahead.
He had become single again after a pretty long-term relationship had ended. Yeah, he was with a gal for quite a while. Mm-hmm. So after a while, he started to get back out there again, and begin to meet people. And most of it was while going out to hang out with his old buddies. And then you start bumping into girls wherever you happen to be. You might be in a bar, you're in a club, the Phillies game, whatever. You know the drill. You just go there and, hey, there's someone that's kind of cute, and you chat them up, and So then he began to see some of these girls, and as usual, some things work out and some things don't. And then for whatever reason, you get a text or a call out of the blue from a girl, and she's interested in picking things up again. So that's exactly what happened. He got a text from a girl he hadn't seen or heard from for a while, maybe a year.
Okay.
So like any red-blooded American man, he begins a text correspondence with her, just, the playful back and forth banter.
Chatting her up.
The kind of thing you do for a few days. So after a few days at this, he senses that now's the time to broach the let's get together for a date move. So, he gets up the nerve, and so he asks her, and she says yes, and she's all for it. So, awesome. Yeah, this is going to be great. So now there's more back and forth texting. What do you want to do? Oh, I don't know.
Whatever you want to
do. How about dinner? Oh, that sounds wonderful. How about Italian? I just had Italian. How about seafood? Seafood is great. Yeah, the usual stuff. So after they text back and forth and iron out all the details, he texts her and asks what time should he pick her up. And she texts back and says that there's something he needs to know. And that is, since the last time they had seen her texted each other, like a year ago, she had moved and now lives in the King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And as you know, from South Jersey, getting the King of Prussia is a swinging pain in the ass.
Nightmare.
There's
no good way to get there. It's an hour and 15-minute ride.
Right. And there's no good time.
Right.
Yeah, you think, 2 in the afternoon. No.
Nope.
Here's an overturned 18-wheeler for you.
Nope.
There'll be something that will get in your way. So.
Right.
And he's like, So he texts her, why are you so far? Well, after a few hours, he hasn't heard from her, and he's wondering what's going on. And he goes to check his phone for a message, and then much to his horror, the damn autocorrect changes text to, why are you so fat?
Oh, my God. Oh.
So you know how women are sensitive.
She got one look at that and was...
could you imagine?
Oh my God!
So, and he said, well, what? Oh yeah, it's just like it was like brutal. He's like, oh my God.
Right off the rails.
Yeah, he's just like, and see, the thing of it is, the girl, he liked her a lot. He says, but she was a little thick. So she was probably a little sensitive about this to begin with. Yeah. So could you imagine that you're having this wonderful texting session?
Good
and out of the blue, you get a text that just says, why are you so fat?
What do you do at that point? How do you even go back? How do you even go back and try to say...
Well, he is a charmer, and he was able to talk her down off of the ledge and everything, and he had, told. But the reason he told me this story, he says, be careful, watch the autocorrect on an iPhone, because he said apparently it learns what you use, what words you are prone to using in your expressions. And he said, and since all I ever do is make fun of people and eat, the word fat popped right in there.
Holy cow. Wow.
So he told me this story over a series of texts ourselves. He was at one side of the site and I was on the other side of the site. And I was screaming. I said, that is like the best autocorrect story. You know,
the thing about it is, and again, I've had it happen to me. I've had it where I've said stuff and I thought it was going to be, I don't check it. And again, I don't spell. So I'm a horrible speller.
Right.
So I do need autocorrect. So, it's a double-edged sword for me. Right. I got to tell you, what happens is, for me, it's usually when I'm cursing. Like if I'm sending something, like it always changes the word to duck.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that. I always get duck or luck, seems like, and luck is not what I'm trying to impart in this instance.
Right, exactly. So did he actually end up going out on a date?
Yeah, he pulled it off.
Did they go out and have a sensible meal?
I don't know if they had a sensible meal or not, but I guess it was seafood. I guess it was all right.
Well, I guess she doesn't want to go get. I guess she doesn't want to go get Italian. Nothing like after that, I think she'll never eat pasta again in front of him. In episode 3, we talked about bullying and how bullying has become this major problem today. But it really isn't a problem of today. It's always been there. We just handled it differently. And being from, old school, this is how we handle bullying.
Going back in the historical aspect, could there possibly be an upside to bullying? And people will look at you like you're crazy when you say something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at you like you're crazy. Go ahead, explain this one to me. I got to hear this one.
Well, not for the sense that it teaches you how to deal with situations in life, especially a bully. Because
I know what you're saying.
As we all know, the kid that never put his fists up to defend himself was the guy that got picked on
the most
all 12 years in school, right up until senior year, because he marked himself as a pushover.
Right.
And, I got in a lot of fights. Look, between being Italian, having the first name that I do,
right,
and being short, and my teeth came in like a crapshoot when I was a kid. So, you're getting your balls broken all the time.
On the regular.
And, right. So until you put your fists up and you defended yourself, then that shit stopped. Because what happens to the bullies is like, you know what? There's a chance I might get hurt picking on that kid. Let me move on to another target.
Right. Like me, when I was a kid, I used to fight like a retard. Oh, now everybody's going to say, oh, he just said retard. Right? Well, the reason I fought, because when I say that, fight like a retard was like, I would go crazy. Right. And I knew that, that I had to make this guy, whoever was going to take me on, he had to get hurt. All right. Because if he wasn't hurt and no one saw that, then I would be the guy in the barrel all the time. So once a year, somebody would pick on me and then, it would be going to fisticuffs. It would be like,
yeah.
And
you got to put that fire out. That's exactly it.
I remember, here you go. Perfect example. I'm in 6th grade. I'm walking with my lunch tray up to go put it where you put the lunch tray, where they clean them. So I go walking up there, and this kid who's like maybe in 7th grade, he puts his foot across the thing and goes, go around. And I said, move your leg. And he goes, go around. And I said, move your leg. Well, this time he's going to stand up. So then I take my tray, which had like mashed potatoes and corn and probably, it was all gravy and everything on it. I just turned it upside down and I just put it right on his lap. I said, never mind, you take it up. Well, he jumped up. Well, when he jumped up, I still had the plastic fork in my hand. I stabbed that sucker right in the leg with the plastic fork. And he's screaming, he stabbed me. And I'm like, that's right.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I'm not afraid of you. You're lucky I didn't have the plastic knife.
Right.
Because back then you couldn't show fear. You had to defend yourself.
And the worst thing that would happen was you both went to the principal's office.
Right.
You got a talking to. You went back to class. And sometimes you wound up friends after that.
Right. Well,
we were never. Not always, but sometimes if you got in a fight with somebody, not immediately you became friends, but maybe a year or two down the road, something would happen. Now, my brother Mike, he got revenge on a bully.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, this guy's got 2-3 heads on you. Okay. So this guy can, rule the roost. Well, his younger brother was the same thing. His younger brother was 3 grades above my youngest brother. And, apparently this crap would go on. Well, guess what happens? People grow up.
Yeah.
And my brother, Mike, has a long memory, just like the rest of us do. Well, he saw this guy in the bar, and he was there with a buddy of his. And Mike was, hey, I want to talk to you. And he knew what he wanted to talk to him about, and the buddy went over there to run interference because now the tables are turned because this guy never grew much.
See?
So Mike's taller than he is now, and Mike's a pretty badass.
Right.
So, what is this? Oh, he knows what I want to talk to him. Well, so.
We were just kids.
Yeah, Mike used to hang out at this bar. So he knew the cook's car, he knew the dishwasher's car, he knew the bartender's car. So process of elimination, Mike's just waiting in the parking lot. And here he comes. And Mike just walked right up to him and like 3 quick shots in the face. He went down like a sack of wheat, and then okay, it's done. It's over with. And Mike says, you're right. It's done and it's over with. But back then, when you have that big age difference, I mean, you could have a bully terrorize you for years.
Here's another story. I'm in 7th grade this time, and in homeroom, I found a test tube, a broken test tube, a test tube. And how kids pick something up and they carry it into school.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, and the kid says to me, "What'd you got?" I go, "I don't know, it's a broken test tube." He goes, "Let me see it." So I go, "Here." So I let him see it. So then he starts to walk away. I go, "Hey, where you going?" He goes, "It's mine now." I go, "Wait a minute. It's not yours. It's mine." I'm fighting over a broken test tube. Okay. So the kid.
Well, it's a matter of pride now.
Right. He's taking, it's not the test tube. It's like this kid thinks he's just going to walk off with my property. Right. We're not having that. So I turn around, and he was bigger than me, and he was older than me. So I said, "Hey," and I grabbed him, and he turned around, he stabbed me in the arm. And when he stabbed me, he took a whole chunk out of my arm.
Wow. So now he stabbed you with the broken
test tube. So now the teacher's coming, and he's like, "If you tell anybody what actually happened here, I'll find you. I'll beat your ass." So now I got to go to the hospital. My mom gets called. My dad gets called. So my dad says, "What happened?" So I tell my dad the story. Well, my mom says, "Okay, well, I'm going to take him home." My dad says, "The hell you're taking him home. He's going back to school." So I go back in. So now he marches me into the vice principal's office because I told the vice principal it was an accident. He says, "Go ahead, tell him." And I said, "Well, it wasn't an accident. He did it on purpose." He says, "Why did you tell him?" I said, "Because he threatened me." So he says, "Well, I'll talk to him." So then my dad says to the assistant principal, "Listen, if anything happens to him, I'm holding you responsible." So the principal's like, "Well, you can't threaten me." My dad goes, "I just did." So I go back to class. Now, the class I go to is music. And this poor guy, this poor music teacher, he was such a nice guy. I can't even think of his name. And he was one of those guys that could hear a song and play it on the piano. He could just hear it and he could play
by ear.
He could play by ear. So what we would do for music class is he'd come in and he'd start playing like today's songs on the piano. We'd all sing and stuff like that. It was just like a happy class. So I come in with my bandage on my arm, and here's this kid in there with his minion, and he's sitting there, and they're laughing at me. And you know how, like in the Christmas Story, where the bully is like saying, "Go ahead, cry."
Scott Farkas.
Right, Farkas. And then all of a sudden, Ralphie gets so mad, he beats his kid up.
Right.
Well, that was the story, except I knew that I didn't have the physical strength to beat him, but I knew I couldn't back down. So we had, in music class, we had the folding chairs with the arm that folded down where you could write on, like the little desk.
Okay, yeah. The traditional school desk.
Right, but it was a folding one.
Right.
So I fold this thing up, and the teacher, he's playing like popcorn, do 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 do, because this is back in the 70s, do do do
buttered popcorn.
Yeah, right. And all of a sudden he's looking at me, and I fold the chair up, and I walk up, and I have the chair by the bottom legs, and I go, "Hey," and he turns around, and I hit him with that chair in the face and the chest, and I blew him right out of his chair. With that, now I know I got a bull by the horns. I got to continue. So I throw the chair on top of him so he can't get out, and I jump on top of him like Ralphie did to Scott Farkas, and I'm
wailing on him.
And the teacher don't know what to do, and he's trying to get me off of him, right? And I can't. And then back in the assistant principal's office.
Weren't you just here?
And my dad comes back in, and the principal's like, he's all mad. He says, "You know what he did?" And he said, "What he had to do." "All right, son, get in the car," because I ended up getting suspended, external suspension for that. He's
right.
like, "Get in the car." So I went to work with my dad for like 3 days, and it was. What I'm saying is, you had to stick up. Now nowadays, it's not like you would fight like that. You now they get a gun. You know what I mean? Right. They go into school and they start shooting up. Like there's no then you didn't try to kill them. You just wanted to teach them a lesson. On episode number 5 of the podcast, Deuce came up with a news story about how a doctor or organization wanted money to research the effects that cell phones have on our brain and on our physical body. And Deuce thought it was a money grab, and I thought it was a money grab. And then we had Dr. No Nuts join the show and actually tell us what the money was for.
We spend as a nation god-awful billions of dollars using our cell phones, he added.
True that.
We are significantly exposed on a constant basis, and yet we spend almost nothing on research in this area. We need an influx of research dollars. We want to understand what may be happening and hopefully be able to prevent it while we still have time.
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
Right. And this is why I added the caveat that it comes from Mother Jones, because to me, that whole paragraph that this Portier gentleman stated is a cash grab at a cash cow industry. And it's another way to get government money to fund studies that employ people that are going to have this point of view. It's, to me, they don't really care about anybody's health. And again, they've been studying this for about 25 years, as long as it's been a concern. And there's more and more people using more and more cell phones, and they're really not seeing a significant increase in cancers or tumors. So I see this as just a cash grab, and that is why I pointed out that this is how, but look at the talk that they use in Mother Jones. It's like scare words. It's an epidemic of cancer.
Children.
Yes.
The children might be getting cancer.
We need an influx of research dollars. Hopefully we'll be able to prevent it while we still have the time.
Oops, wrong one.
Wait. Go to this. Well, that's a good blooper reel there. But I mean, am I off base to you? And
nah.
That's my take on this. I mean, should we be concerned about anything that might impact us? Sure, we should. But to me, this just looks like it's a cash grab.
Gentlemen, I would like to come in here and talk to you about this. I'm Dr. No Nuts, and I've been doing research on rats. We've taken radiation and blasted rats and mice for
9 hours a day.
Yes, 9 hours a day. And we gave one rat cancer. Now, the other ones live longer, but that's not what I'm talking about. I think you need to give us money so we can blast more rats with radiation. What do you think?
And did you see what that study cost? Hold on, it's in here somewhere. This study cost $25 million. I mean, I guess they couldn't build little cell phones and strap them to the rat's head.
Well, now, Deuce, $25 million is just a drop in the bucket on what Americans spend and people worldwide spend on cell phones. So you can see why we need another $50 million to do more research. So $50 million to do more research. And I think by that time we should know something. Maybe.
And it gets worse, actually. Look at the findings from a $25 million study conducted over 2.5 years.
Not to interrupt you, Deuce, but to be honest with you, really the whole purpose of this is just to get me to the retirement age so I can get off of Obamacare and get into regular Medicare before it's all gone. But I didn't want to tell you that, but I mean, nobody listens to this podcast, but I figure I can let you in on a secret. It's just this little secret between you and I. I'm just trying to get us I'm trying to get myself to retirement age.
I appreciate your candor, Dr. No Nuts.
No problem.
But over 2.5 years, so this costs like $10 million a year.
Hold on,
to do this?
I have to zap the rats. What were you saying?
I think at this point it's a mix. It doesn't matter anymore. You're going to just continue to zap rats at a willy-nilly pace, aren't you, Dr. No Nuts?
What was that? Oh, yes. It's time to give the rats some current. I need current C so I can give the rats some current.
Here's a quote from the Food and Drug Administration, which is charged with regulating the health aspects of consumer products, states on its website that there is no evidence linking cell phone use with the risk of brain tumors. It does acknowledge some risk associated with carrying cell phones too close to the body, but only due to the phone's heating effect. So I think this is the beginning of the attempt to bankrupt the cell phone industry.
Well, we did it to tobacco, and I think we can do it to cell phones. I mean, they've got money, and I need a car. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not fair that we subject all these people to this industry, this technology, and we don't know what it's doing to them. And if you give me $75 million, I know.
75? Wait a minute. It was just 50 million 2 minutes ago.
Well, with inflation, with Obama in here, the inflation, it's just terrible. But anyhow, if you give me $75 million in 5 years, you won't be able to find me with a $100 postcard. I mean, we should know what this actually does to humans, or at least rats. Hold on, I got it. Very busy over here. These rats don't zap themselves.
Time to zap the donuts.
As you were saying.
I don't know. I just find this.
Did I circle you with your own logic there, Deuce? I mean, I know that, me being a educated man, a doctor in physics.
I do have a PhD after my name.
Right. And just, $100 million. And that's all I will need. And we will know for sure, maybe, that this will affect us in one way or another.
Well, riddle me this, Dr. No Nuts, because according to the article, only the test results for rats have been released so far, and female rats did not experience significantly higher than normal cancer rates. However, among male rats that received the highest exposure, 2 to 3% experienced various tumors. How do you explain that away?
Well, we are looking into that, and we think we can get to the bottom of that for just a grant of $125 million, and we can actually get to the bottom of that.
It seems like to be a bottomless pit of spending is what you're advocating here for, instead of the health of the human race by torturing rats.
Well, listen, gentlemen, I would like to stay here and discuss my research. I would try to break it down where you could understand it, but obviously you have your minds made up and it's not in my favor, so got to go.
Well, thank you for what little time you spent here, Dr. No Nuts.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. No Nuts. Come on back anytime.
Well, the man I am today is because of my father. My father kind of molded me like a lump of clay. And one of the things about my father was he was basically a workaholic, and he tried to drag me down that road. But I had enough laziness in me to fight back. We used to have a place down the shore in Jersey, which came with a dock. And there was always work to be done down at the dock. And there was some stories that went along with that work. And here are the stories about the dock and the lighting of the grill.
Well, here was the other thing, that if there was a big giant storm where the tides came up, like a nor'easter or something, or like a hurricane, tropical storm, a lot of times the docks would break loose and they would float out into the marshes. So he would go and look and say, and we would go for a dock upgrade. So we would go look and let's see if we could find one. So we look and there's a nice one. Look, let's go get that one. So we would go out there, get close to it, throw a rope around it, drag it over, drag it back to back to the dock, and then take one of the old docks and drag it up. So now we got a new dock. So we're going to try to drag the old dock up. So we drag the old dock up, the dry land right there. And he's like, I want to lift it up, and I want to get the styrofoam, the things that make them float, the styrofoam pads out. Pontoons, thank you. Out from underneath.
I'm here for you, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So my cousin Greg, he's kind of smaller than me, so he says, all right, let's lift this dock up. I'm like, this thing's heavy. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it. We'll get it up. So, okay. So we start lifting this thing up. Me and my cousin's on one end, he's on the other. We're grunt. Get it about 3/4 of the way up. My dad goes, okay, we're not going to make it. Drop it. And he goes, and me and Greg, we're like, bye. We let it go, right? He goes, on 3. Well, when he said drop it,
dropped it.
We bailed, right? Well, that thing grabbed him and drug him to it went down so fast, and he still had his hands on it. And when the thing hit, his face hit the top part of the dock. And he's got a bloody nose. And what happened was the dock grabbed the ring on his finger, on his ring finger, and cut his finger. And he's yelling, "You stupid!" He's yelling back and forth, cursing. And I go, "You said drop it." He goes, "I said on 3. I said, "You said it after drop it. Once you say drop it, all bets are off. And you know it. You're wrong." And that was the other thing. Who was wrong? "Oh, you're wrong." I said, "Hey, you said drop it. I dropped it. What do you want from me?" "I said on 3. Now, if you would have said on 3, drop it, I would have been there with you. But when you say drop it, bye-bye." He's got blood running down his shirt, and he's got his hold of his finger, and we're arguing. And my cousin Greg's going, "You two are insane." Absolutely insane.
And that's why you missed the 2 girls in the bikinis and stuff like that. That's exactly how it was.
Miss that man.
That had the smart.
Oh,
because that's no joke with jewelry.
Absolutely.
Especially rings and things of that nature. They're a definite no-no in like an industrial workplace. They tell you take that stuff right off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to lose your finger.
Well, somebody was always usually getting hurt down there. It was either me or him. The one time we were tearing wood off of something, and we had those big, giant, long, galvanized nails. And I'm telling you, they had to be a foot long. And we were driving them into pilings and stuff.
Oh, like the 10-penny nails.
Right. And he stepped on one of them. It got stuck in his foot. But not only did it get went through his shoe and into his foot, but it went into the bone. And we couldn't, and it wouldn't come out. So I'm like, he's like, "Pull it out." I'm like, "Okay." And then I go to pull. He goes, "Ah!" I'm like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" Pull. He goes, "All right, hold on. On 3, pull. On 3. On 3, pull it out." Okay. 1, 2. No, wait, don't do it. So I said, "Okay." So finally, he says, "Okay, on 3." So I grab it, I yank it, and he goes, "Ah!" And it didn't come out. And he's like, "I told you to pull it out." I'm like, "I'm trying." So finally, we pull this thing out. He must have limped for a month when that thing went out. The other good time was.
Well, wait, did he have to get like a tetanus shot or anything?
No, we don't get tetanus shots.
Jesus
you know what?
Christ.
The funny thing was,
Christ.
every time we hurt ourselves so much that we were always good on tetanus shot. Usually, like they would say, he might have just had a tetanus shot with like a month ago. You know what I mean? He might have done.
So you were like in a revolving door of tetanus shots.
Yeah, it's like let's just give one anyhow. So the other one was the lighting of the grill. The lighting of the grill was on the dock, and it was a propane grill, and the wind would blow through there. It was very hard to light. So you're trying to light it. So I had the idea one day of I'm going to light it. So I just took a ball of paper, I caught that on fire, and I turned the gas on, and I shut the lid. I said, "There you go, that'll do it." So I'm sitting there, and he goes, "I thought you were going to light the grill." I said, "Oh, it's going to light." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "I set a piece of paper on fire, and I threw it in there and turned it on." He goes, "You can't leave the lid closed." I go, "Why?" With that, I hear. And the lid goes. The lid,
like a jet of flame
in the slow motion. The lid's blown off the thing, and it's doing like a end over end thing, and it hits the water. That's why, you idiot. Now we got to find it. Find what? The lid. Dad, it's a 20-foot of water. Get the magnet and a rope. What? Sure enough.
So now you're dragging the bag?
We're dragging the bag because I know where it went in. The tide's running here. It should be right around here somewhere. So he's throwing the thing. About 5 tosses, he goes, "Oh, I got it." Pulled the thing up. So he got it. He actually got it. But that was my father, man. Could never tell.
That's funny as hell.
Oh, he says, "You can't do that." "Why not?" It was almost on cue. It was hysterical.
Yeah, it was like staged almost.
Oh, it was really funny. Oh, how about the time when he brought that wooden boat because he wanted me to fix it? And
the Big Pig.
And I named it the Big Pig, and he got so mad.
Yeah, you forgot all about the Big Pig.
I did forget
about a year ago when I posted the pictures on my Facebook page.
I'm like, "Oh my God, there's the Big Pig."
Yeah, like I forgot all about it. Yeah, you just blotted that memory right out of your head. You did. Well, I remember me and Don came down and we're helping you. We're sanding and we're scraping and and that That was a lot of fun.
Right.
How old was that boat? I mean, it was like, what, probably about 30 or 40
I don't know. The guy gave it to us. The guy gave it to my father. My dad goes, "Oh, I got a boat for you." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, it's at the dock. Come on down." So I go down, and it was like a 25 or 27 foot old wooden boat. Had one motor in it, and we're in there trying to get it fixed up, trying to get the motor started and all. Finally, I told him, I said, "You know what, Dad? I don't have it. You like working on these wooden boats? I can't stand it. You sweat. The bugs are biting you." I said, "I don't want it. I want a fiberglass boat. I like to ride in them and have fun on them."
Well, not only that, there was if that's what you were in, if that was your vocation, it would have been nice because it didn't cost you anything.
Right.
But me and Don, we're looking at it because everything needed to be done. The galvanized aluminum was all pitted and scorched, like the window tracks wouldn't even open. It was just weathered. It had evidently sat outdoors for quite a long time. It was never touched, and it would probably cost you way more money to bring that boat back than it was even worth. So the only way it could feasibly happen is if the boat was given to you. But even then, you would be putting way more than you could sell the boat for.
Exactly.
It was a good boat to have a Viking funeral on. Right. That was about it.
Well, my idea was, this was the death of the Big Pig. So I said to my dad, "I'm just going to make it a place where you sleep. All right, I'm going to clear the cabin out. I'm just going to cut an air conditioner in, a 110 air conditioner. And then when we come down, we'll go to the bars and everything. We'll just come back and we'll crash on the Big Pig." He goes, "You're not naming that boat the Big Pig." I said, "I'm naming it. It's my boat, and I'm naming it the Big Pig." "Well, you can't keep it here if you name it the Big Pig." So I said, "Fine." So I went down there like 2 weeks later, and he said, "That's enough of that." And he had it towed away. I don't know where it went. We don't know where the Big Pig ever went. But that was the end of the Big Pig. He
created a reef with it.
Oh, my God.
Just sunk the Big Pig. Wow, I didn't know he was so adamantly against the name the Big Pig.
Oh, he hated the name the Big Pig. And I thought to myself, it was the best name. It was the best thing. Who came up with the Big Pig? Was it me? I don't know.
You must have, because I arrived there with Don, and it was the Big Pig then. So you guys named it.
I named
Somebody had the name. Yeah. Maybe it was Sandy. I don't know.
No, Sandy would never call both the Big Pig. But
I don't know.
I know.
I just know I got there, and it was the Big Pig.
All right, well, that's it for this episode of The Best Of. We will have another Best Of episode next week. I want to thank you very much for listening to the Brand X Podcast. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and at brandxpodcast.com. We would also love it if you connected with us on social media. Now, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, so it's really easy to find us. All you do is have to go to the brandxpodcast.com/contact, and our links are over there, and you can join in on the conversation. Deuce and I hope you enjoyed our shenanigans, and come back next week for another episode of the Brand X Podcast.
That's it. We're just getting into it.